Hey guys, icy cold day, getting towards the end of April 2020, so the Aussie Cruzer build. This video we're going to cover off on the fuel tanks, fuel senders, also show us your tips. So nice wing tip we finished, and closing up, starting to close up on the right hand wing. Alright, twins! Left hand and right hand wings, both ready to, well, almost ready to close up. I've just got to run a loom for the nav lights, and on the left hand wing the pitot tube and associated plumbing run through to the root. Get my inspector around here and we'll be ready to close those up hopefully once he's passed them. Just working on the wing tips, so I made a mess out the back, cut out the ABS wing tips. Where the nav light goes, I've just made up some plywood templates. Well, not made up a template, now I've made the plywood. Just chamfered the edge, and that sits in there nicely. And I'll just going to fill that now with epoxy and or camel snot I call it, just epoxy and micro balloons, just to give the landing light eventually in both those, when I screw through from the other side, just give me something to actually screw to. Just installing the pitot tube, so I've made up a bit of a brace here. Just going to check, not too sure about drilling holes in the spar. I can put the grommets through the spar, or I made up this bracket that I can rivet to the spar, but I'll just check with my Amy when he comes around. There's the pitot tube down in there, I'll show you that in a tick. Then these tubes, I've got some 6mm Festo fittings that will connect up there. I've got a pigtail, I'll show you the reason for that in a minute. Comes down, just made up a bracket going onto the stringer, exit the spar. I'm contemplating whether to get some 90-degree Festo fittings on here, because it works on pressure as opposed to flow. The 90 degrees should be okay, but I'll just double check that. And then these will get tied back onto the spar. And I've got my nav wire there as well. The nav wire comes out. I run out of these little fellas. I know where they all are. I put up Christmas decorations and they're all glued to my roof. So I need about 4 or 5 more of those. And there's about 250 up on my roof. But anyway, I'll duck down the shop tomorrow. And I might put some spy wrap or insulation around. I know this is already insulated wire, but I'll wrap that in something before I zip tie it to the trailing edge. Then it goes into the spar. Just follow the Zenith guide through a grommet. I'm not sure how it'll work yet, but I made up a little, where it goes over the stringer there, just made up this little platformy bit just with a single rivet in it and a zip tie. Once I put that, I'm going to get that Chinese finger grippy stuff. It's like black braid. When you cut it all frays. I'll slip that over I think and tie it down. That'll hold it nicely there. I haven't got any nav lights yet, so I'm just going to leave the slack in there. The tips will go on. They turned out really well over here, where you can see why I call it camel snot. So I glued in the epoxy mix and Q cells or micro balloons. Just for the light, and then that will sit on there. So when I do get my nav lights and I drill a hole, I'd like to think I'll be able to fish this out. I've taped up the end for those that are worried that it's a live wire, but it's not going to be live yet. It'll probably only be a test flight without nav lights, or I might even lash out and just get the nav lights now, who knows. But the wires, I'm going to just position that somewhere, and it can actually pass from the front of the spar back to the rear through the scalloped bit in there. So anyway, we'll see how that works out. And what I've come up with for the, so I've got the pitot tube installed, or clecoed in, but I want to take that out to paint. And obviously it's under there on the bench. There's the pitot tube, which is about 5mm off the bench at the moment and fairly susceptible to damage. So that'll go on last after I've painted it or had it painted. So I've sort of devised this plan with the clamp in there at the moment. This bracket, the grommets hold these lines. I've changed it over to soft line. This is what we used to use on the model jets, 6mm fuel tube, and it doesn't sort of kink as easily. So I've put this loop in there with the 6mm Festo fittings straight onto the cleaned up the ends of the pitot tube. So the idea being I can pull that out, there's enough slack there now to drop the pitot tube out, quick disconnect, whack the tubes back up, they'll stay there for the life of the build, and then I can just fish them out with a bit of wire, connect it up and rivet the pitot tube on. But that's the plan anyway. So a lot of procrastinating. One night you can build a wing or a wing skeleton, the next night you can build a couple of little tiny brackets or something. I was going to run the wire down the back of the spar. Bought some of the flexible conduit, ran that through, just looked a bit too industrial. So gone with what Zenith suggest, lo and behold. One other thing, I guess, I put the, you meant to actually take out this. Well, they mentioned utilising this middle rivet for these plastic blocks. I tried it on one. I had to modify the head of the rivet gun that I had to get the rivet set properly inside these plastic blocks. And not only that, like the ribs are structural, the trailing edge of the ribs. I took one of these out, put a block in, but see the block's actually, where's the slack one? Actually pretty good. These ones have got zip ties in them ready to go. Now that I modified that one there, that was the first one I did before I modified the head of the rivet gun. So it actually spins, which is telling me the rivet's not set good enough for these plastic blocks, but not set it good enough for the rib. And they're A5s, and I've just put the A4s in there. It's an inch away in the centre of the spar, and modified the head of the gun. Where is it? Over here. So what I did is I had to go to a standard head on the gun, chopped it down a bit, but then I also had to use, to get down in deep, cheated a bit. I had the rivet, but I put a nut. So I put a nut, little tiny nut, onto the rivet, then put that into the gun, just to give me clearance to get a good set on the plastic blocks. Like I said, I've been mucking around with those for way too long, but they're on there now. Happy with that. I haven't riveted the spar, or haven't put a block onto the spar, so I just kept them separate so the structural ones can do their job and the plastic ones can take the nav wire. For those that are wondering, that's 20 gauge shielded 3-strand wire I got from Aircraft Spruce. And the fuel tanks, I've just whacked the handle on there just to help obviously getting in and out. I've opted to go, I'm going to vent the fuel cap. What have I done? So I've got a tank over there drying on the floor. These aren't my ideas, just what I've got online. I've cut off the standpipe and I've tapped that to, that's an 8mm thread in there, and I've got my 8mm grub screw to go in there to blank that. Going to put in the drain valve. That's like a press to release. Just do your daily water checks, and the finger filter, the main pickup line if you like, that'll go in using the trusty Loctite 567. And yeah, cleaned up all the holes. So part of that, there was a on the return line. Done the return line. Now I had a bit of trouble trying to work out That's a 3/8 NPT thread, so 3/8. I've got 8mm down here. I've got that one there, which is 1/4 NPT, I believe, or 1/8, and the main pickup line on the other side as well. So I'm getting confused with all the pipe threads, but it's either 1/8, 1/4 or 3/8. So there you go, the fuel tank. Just about to close up the left hand wing, so I've got the fuel bay prepped, although until I get the skin on this still moves a bit, just to get the tank in there accurately. The trailing edge, I've got some conduit running down with my pitot lines. Pitot lines come up to a 6mm 90-degree elbow with the Festo fittings. I made up a little bracket through the stringer, another bracket across there with the pigtail, and I've taken the pitot off until the aircraft's painted. And then spy wrap covered nav wire, bit of Tygon tubing wrapped around the tie wrap or panjute strap, zip tie. So I just put them next to each rib, and then the wire runs up another little bracket. Made a little landing for it and a zip tie. Got the footy on from 1999, I think, a replay, and a bit of tension in the shed. So just rolling down the final leading edge skin. Bit of a knack to it. My main concern's not damaging the trailing edge. Good use of cardboard. Get the cardboard under there, and I'll stretch this one down. So it can't go anywhere, can't rub on the skin. Up to the top. These push fittings, I just put a bob of Sikaflex on the back there. You can see that, just to stop any vibration, because once this gets closed up, these will never see the light of day again, and the trailing edge will go over that. So let's close it up finally. Top wing skin all riveted. Exciting. The part looks like an aeroplane. Now I'm just working on got the tank in, or preliminary fit, and I'm just trying to get the fuel cap, which is here, just trying to get it to sit nice through the skin. So a bit more cork, and just playing with getting the tank seated in there, but going well. Okay, I've been going at the fuel cap for quite some time, tank in, tank out, to get the height and everything right. Started off with the cork like that. Pretty sure most of this doesn't get used, but it's there. I guess the tank's going to get a belly in it when it's full of, when it holds 15 gallons. The best I've found, and I'm pretty happy now, like that's perfect. So it's paid off. I've got some cork around the actual tank to hold the skin up. But the best way I found was to actually ignore the skin, get the skin centered in the hole, take up the cap, which even faces the correct way with the airflow. And also note, I've got the skin the way I like it, outboard over inboard and leading edge over trailing edge. I think a lot of people just slap this on top, especially of the outboard skin there. But when you first start, you think there's no way that cap's going to sit flush. And I was trying to manipulate the tank, but the best way I found, bolt the cap to the skin and the tank, and then cleco the skin in place. Now I've just got to work out where the tank's sitting, so I'll take it apart gently. And I'm actually thinking to put the tank in wet with Sikaflex or silicone in each corner, blob, 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 do the cap up, centre the panel, and hey presto, when the time comes. I still haven't done the fuel sender, but pretty happy so far. That cap's just turned out brilliantly from when I started. Fuel tanks, a couple of practice goes on the scrap, and I've just used gone with a hole saw I bought this, it's like a fly cutter thing. It's a bit too savage. That did this first hole here, and sort of, once it breaks through it rips. I've just used the hole saw, really slow, like about 100 RPM, and it's made a nice, that'll clean up nice, just a burr on there. I've gone with a 40mm hole, contrary to the plans, because I'm going to cut it. This is my cardboard template. I'm going to cut a slit just like that, and then hopefully I can feed it down and in like that. That way on the sender itself, which is over here, on the sender, the rather than just a seal on the outside of the bolt hole, the screw hole, I'll actually get a seal on the inside as well. So we'll see how that works out. Wingtip going on, the left-hand wing. So I've spent a couple of hours on this, just trying to get it nice and neat, obviously, like anything. Got a bit of a gap just at the front here, where the actual leading edge has got a bit of a, I don't know, from the rolling machine or from the bar they've used, but I'm going to fill that, which is fine. I actually cut the wingtips 3/8 of an inch oversize, and I'll still end up with a, so they told me to cut it in here somewhere. Anyway, nothing that a bit of bog won't fill. I riveted down the middle there with a 30-inch pitch, A4s, and it's looking pretty good, just clecoed in at the moment. I've got a nice fit. I just decided to have it stick out about 1/4 of an inch all the way around. Obviously it pokes out a bit where the landing light flattens out in the curve, then back to about 1/4 of an inch. Looking pretty good, and as usual you get a bit of a dag at the back here, but I cut the plastic, but yeah, it's thicker than the actual trailing edge. So it's designed, there's actually, says a note there that you're going to have a gap. I'd understand if it was a low edge you'd have the water run out, but obviously the water's going to run in, so I think I'll fill that as well. So next time out we'll get a bit of a, we'll get that riveted in and then I'll bog it up, I think, with micro balloons and resin. I've got the tanks, the senders are sort of partly installed, just made up my bonding leads, doing both tanks together. The senders are in, and if you actually stick a mirror in the tank, you can look down and just check your floats actually. It's hitting the floor, but obviously you want the arm to hit the stops, so you get the right, the full range of travel on the what is it, a potentiometer or something in there, in the fuel sender. But looking good. Time for bed. So the wing's nearly complete. It's time to make a stand. So I've just downloaded this off the internet. I'll have a crack. I'm knocking up a stand quickly for the wings. Okay, only one little incident with that. I think I'll survive. And we've got our wing stand all framed up. It's outside here under cover. Pretty dark old day here, turning into winter. So yeah, a couple of hours work. Whoever put the sort of the picture online, thank you very much. It's about the seatbelt. I actually just burnt some holes in that with a soldering iron. Worked pretty well up on top. I got the droop the same height on each of them. I did manage to keep a cardboard cutout of the wing profile, which if you have a look, it's pretty close anyway. But there, once the wings are nearing completion, they'll go in there. Where they'll go after that, I'm not too sure. And I'm not sure if this will, see how sturdy it is, but I might be able to trailer the wings on the on this stand as well for final fitment. Having fun, all going well. Back in the shed with the wings. I showed you last night. So I've got the wingtip clecoed. Finish that off tonight. Should be the wingtip. Tank's waiting on some goop. And then I need to, haven't orchestrated this too well, but I'm not sure how I'm going to need to swap onto my building bench as opposed to the wonky old box. And then we can close up the right hand wing once I put a return line in there with the fuel. But all going well. Nice tips. So show us your tips. The wing tip turned out really nice. I've only done the one. So I went with, I got about 1/4 inch all the way around. It flattens out here for the tip. Got some tape on there. And down to the back. Once again you get this Zenith gap, which I'm thinking about filling up. Now I cut those about 3/8 of an inch, 1/2 inch oversize, and they still ended up, I got about a bit more than 1/4 of an inch gap there. And I've masked that up. I'll fill that up tonight. I think I'll bog it up with micro balloons. But really happy with the fit. Only got a little tiny 1/8 of an inch gap, which I've just put some Sikaflex in there, some polyurethane. And that's the left hand wing, and this skin will stay off until we get the wings attached. Tonight I'm going to tackle the this leading edge, I think, which has been putting off. We'll have a crack at that. Now I'm not sure if I need to leave that off so that I can access the wing bolt when it comes time to fit these to the fuselage. We'll see what happens. Alright, so to wrap this video up, got the fuel tank sitting there. Really happy with the fit in regards to the filler neck and the cap goes in. I've still got to vent the caps. I've been playing around, just made up a cheeky little jig here to, not sure if I've showed you guys this yet, just to bend, those familiar with the Zenith, the fuel caps, vent the fuel cap. So I've got that sitting there. Fuel sender's in, just waiting for Vans to send me some goop, PR 1440, B half. 30 years in the Air Force, and now I can't believe I'm actually buying goop. I used to hate that stuff. Got my bonding leads on. Had to bend the tab out a bit just to get clearance at the back to actually set a rivet. I bought a smaller 4mm rivet to get that in there, but that's obviously got to be in close to clear the ribs. So both fuel tanks good to go. I've put the multimeter on there with the fuel senders. These will come back out to seal them off, and then I will blank these, put some fuel in there just with them on the sawhorse or something out the back, do our leak checks. So that's where the fuel tanks are at. And the right hand wing, fuel tank's ready to go in. I haven't skinned it yet, the reason being, why is that? So the tank's going to go in, and so on this side I'm going to run my vent line, which will come out here, hook around through the trailing edge, which I need to put another grommet in here, and probably 3/8 fuel line will exit with the main feed fuel line as well as my nav wire there. So until such time as I get the tank complete and install the tank, run my return line, and then I'll skin the wing. Yeah, that's the process on this side. It's all going well. Then showed you my wing stand I built yesterday. So this wing will go into the wing stand. I think it's probably time I got rid of the box. In my box down here I've got the horizontal stab, all the fuselage skins are laying on the bottom there, and the cabin frame. Just have to find a home for those, and then I'll, just because of the weather, I think I'll stand It's only 3 feet wide when they stand up together on my frame, roughly. Say 4 feet with the flapper on arms. I'll stand my 2 wings up there, start on the fuselage. So that's about it for this video. Hope you enjoyed that one. I'm certainly enjoying the building. It's going pretty well. I think one thing I've sort of learnt is it's not going to be finished tomorrow. Just do each piece. I keep saying to myself, you know, you can rush it, and maybe in September next year I have a plane that's, you know, not too bad, or you know, January the year after I have a perfect aeroplane. So it doesn't really matter. There are a lot of decisions to be made as well. I wish I had my fuel gauge at the moment, and I don't even know what fuel gauge I'm going to use. So it's really hard to, it's a bit hard to test the tanks without having a fuel gauge. I could just buy, I think it's a VDU fuel gauge, like an analog gauge, but it'd be nice to, if I've already had made those decisions, would have been nice, yeah, just to check it out. I'm not sure what I'm going to do there at the moment, but there's a lot of decisions to be made, same as fuel hoses and connections and all that. But anyway, we'll wrap that one up there. Cheers.